Disciple, and I'm here to uh, cover some uh, current news when it comes to Restore the Snyderverse, when it comes to DC, when it comes to Warner Brothers. I'm also going to speak a little bit on what's happening in terms of the freedoms in the world, governance, free Palestine, of course. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. I tagged some of you guys in on Twitter. I did not tag anybody on Facebook or on Vero or on Instagram or on other social media platforms that I'm involved in because I just want to get this stream off. It's raining. I can't go out and sell, so I'm here. So I said I'll use this time to do something a little constructive with you guys. All right, first off, got a lot of things to talk about. If you guys have been watching at my post, I know you don't follow everything I do, but if you were watching at some of my posts online, you would notice that I'm basically providing information and evidence for the competition that I still want us to have and have some fun with each other as Snyderverse fans. So the first things I started to post a lot of artwork, fan art of, the Snyderverse. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, also Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, very limited amounts of Wonder Woman, but it was there. So that was the fan art. The next thing I did was I started posting cosplay. So if you guys follow my Twitter, you will see that I started posting up Batman cosplay of, BVS Batman, Mech Batman, Superman, Henry Cavill version. You had BVS Superman, we had Man of Steel Superman, we had Black Suit Superman, Wonder Woman, etc. And then I went on to post up my rendition of for the Easter something that's related to the Snyderverse in terms of a music video. Okay, I have two music videos now that cover things that are related to the Snyderverse. I have two of them, right? The first one is called Us United, and the second one is known as None Shall Live, okay? Which is from the famous Thomas, what's his surname? I forgot. He's a very famous composer. Does some excellent stuff for film and TV. I used his soundtrack and I just sang over it. And I use that just to show you how we can enter competition using video soundtracks. All right. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys is Snyderverse memes. So I'll be posting up that shortly. And we'll go into the other categories. We have also, best crafted art, whether it's you've crafted something, you made a sculpture, you modified a sculpture, you made a statue, you modified a piece of work, all of those things. I just want you guys to be positive, be creative. The world already gives you enough negativity as it is. We try to stay on the positive side of things as much as we can. We have to still be realistic. We live in the real world. But I just wanted to put that out there. Before I even post this up, I'm actually going to put it up, so might as well. So, hold on a second. There we are. So here are some memes, for example, that you guys have fun with. So you see AT&T here. This is back in the day when Jason Keeler said that the Snyder Cut would be coming out. You had AT&T there. You had Zack Snyder. And Zack Snyder is asking AT&T, how did you get WB to release the Snyder Cut? Right? Which I thought was a funny little meme. But, here's another one. Rotten Tomatoes. Warner Brothers is moving beyond the Snyderverse. Zack Snyder confirms his Justice League won't get a sequel, and more movie news. And here's the fans' reaction. My reaction is, look how they massacred my boy. Here's another one. And I'm just showing you guys can have fun with this. You can have fun with this. The thing about it is, we don't have to be negative, and we don't have to look at things and bash them and be negative. We can let the natural process proceed. If you're a fan of something, for example, then you're a fan. You're a fanatic of it. So you should be, every chance you get, you want to post up something on it. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? If some of you like James Gunn's work and you post up James Gunn's work, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem with it is when you become dirty and nasty and you try to tear down other people's stuff and what other people like. That's not cool. Somebody likes something and you're like, well, I don't like that thing. Okay, cool. That's okay. It just means you don't like what I like. But when you take it a step further, oh, it's the worst thing ever. It's this, blah, 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 blah. It kind of takes the joy out of the other person enjoying the thing, because here you are trying to tear down the very thing they love. That's not cool. Okay? Now, having said that, you have to be also realistic and you have to be honest. So you can back up things with facts. Explaining yourself. Then it's backed by facts. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, Warner Brothers has been on a couple wins as of late. Abdy and DeLuca are doing some pretty good job. Of getting some movies to make money. Sinners, a Ryan Coogler movie directed by Ryan Coogler. Debuted with $63 million. It's a rated R movie. We're going to see how it progresses out of the weekend. If it's going to make back its budget first, then second of all, if it can make a profit. Feedback is very positive. Seems to have good word of mouth, so I think it'll have good legs. It's very possible it makes back its money. So we'll watch to see. The feedback I got on the film from almost everybody who watched it was, it's an excellent film. You guys need to go check it out. So, win for Abdy and DeLuca again. That is not the only film that Abdy and DeLuca have done well in. They absolutely killed it with the Minecraft movie. The Minecraft movie right now is sitting at $717 million worldwide. It had an opening budget of $150 million. It long superseded its budget. It's cleared its budget, cleared the advertising. It's making money, right? Which is good to know. Good to know. It's Warner Brothers, Legendary, Mojang Studios, Vertigo Entertainment, and Under Rome. Those are all the production companies that came together to produce this movie. And I'm happy. I'm happy that Minecraft is doing so well. Some people say it's a stupid film, blah, 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 blah. Listen, Minecraft movie to me is the same thing like Jumanji, except it's different. You're in a dream world. Minecraft movie was never going to be serious. I mean, come on now. So no, I don't have a problem with its success at all. Not in the least, okay? And it just all testifies to the fact that Abdy and DeLuca are doing a good job at Warner Brothers, just in case anybody wants to fire them. I'm not saying that I agree with what they did concerning Henry Cavill and how they two-timed Henry Cavill and how they also kind of sort of played Henry because they knew that James Gunn was going to come in to do DC. And the sad thing about this, though, is that while Abdy and DeLuca, I don't know what's going on with Warner Brothers, because they seem to fire on cylinders once it's not DC. Once it's DC, for some reason, they don't fire on all cylinders. And it's not a theme. I mean, Abdy and DeLuca started to make profitable WB movies. The guy that was the king of that was Greg Silverman. And once he was removed, I think started going downhill once it wasn't a big main movie like a DC movie. And then the DC movie started to flop. And so WB didn't really have nothing. And I think they had the Harry Potter movies. I think that was the only thing that was kind of firing with them. And then, was it the Harry Potter movies or was it? Yeah, it was the Harry Potter movies. Then after that, they were doing shitty all the way through. Like DC was flopping and the Warner Brothers Pictures couldn't get a break, until Abdy and DeLuca took on the scene. AT&T allowed Discovery to come in, and Abdy and DeLuca started having a string of wins. Last year was a lot more bumpier year than most. Some projects misfired, but for the most part, Minecraft is doing phenomenally well, which is, again, kudos to them on Minecraft. I only know the video game a little bit. I have a limited knowledge of Minecraft, so don't ask me about it. So maybe this is my point of view. People deep in Minecraft, they'll be like, nah, this is not great. But Minecraft kind of feeds off of the animated, what was it? Those parodies, the Lego movies. It feels like it kind of builds off the Lego movies, the same creating things and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the Lego movie, kind of piggybacked off the Lego movie, to be honest with you. But live action instead of Lego, right? Jack Black, you put Jack Black in almost any movie, it's probably going to make money. He's a comedian, and that's what he does. Jason Momoa was good in it, of course. Wacky kind of, offbeat character Jason was playing. So, I mean, I've seen Jason play that offbeat character before in another movie, which, again, I think it's called Dreamcatcher or something like that. Not Dreamcatcher, something to do with dreams. But to be honest with you, I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at its success. A lot of people, are saying, oh, it's a crappy movie, blah, blah, blah. It's not a movie necessarily for me. But I really don't see it as a bad thing at the end of the day. And kudos to them on getting that to make some money. You know what I mean? There's a demographic out there for that. And that's good for them. So I believe Grace Randolph covered this to some degree. Leroy Kong, you were the one that sent me this information. So shout out to you on that as well. Okay, so let me get to some other stuff out here I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm not done with the Snyderverse, so let me just finish that off, and then we'll keep it moving after that. So, Oscar Ray shared, this is one of the greatest moments in any superhero movie. This is when the Flash turns back time. It was really an awesome moment because we got to see Darkseid present himself. Even though he stayed in his universe, he didn't go through the boom tube. And he was watching everything that was transpiring. He saw Flash turn back time, all of that stuff. And it was just amazing to, how do I say this? It was amazing to see, this movie was just crazy. Zack Snyder's Justice League was just crazy. And I feel so privileged to have seen it, and I still have a copy of it. Here is a meme. I love this. Batfleck forever. Make the Batfleck movie. Bale or Patterson, and Henry Cavill's like, Ben Affleck. What are you talking about, right? Apparently, this was in the Witcher interview. What's so cool about this is it's a meme, and again, I suggest to you guys that you check these stuff out. Sammy said, "I am never moving on," and we have some beautiful art here. This here, I don't know who did it, but it looks pretty good. Um, it's a mix of all kinds of things going on here. So somebody took the liberty to go into Wonder Woman 1984, bring out that costume. This is obviously this here Batman is literally the Batman toy figure that he brought to life there. You have Aquaman, you have the Flash, you have Superman in the black suit, you have Martian Manhunter. He could not get the Martian Manhunter from the actual movie, but it's still cool. And this here obviously is someone who, his name is Pablo Ruiz. He obviously did not get the dark side that is in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is okay because, again, once again, you see Superman in blue suit and everything. You could tell that this was probably before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. So that was his version of Darkseid. Nonetheless, the fans drive everything, and that's what I wanted to point out there. Today is J.D. Morgan's birthday. So happy birthday to J.D. Morgan. It's a blessing to see another birthday every single time because so many people are dying and very quickly. Rance on X says, one day we're going to talk about how Patty Jenkins came from making the best Wonder Woman movie to the worst DC movie of all time. Oh yeah, I hear you, brother. Well, we know why. We know why, and we're not going to go into that right now, but we know why, okay? I love this. Shout out to Supergirl. On the street, everyone recognizes Superman without glasses. This is what somebody said, okay? And case in point, Henry Cavill in Times Square in broad daylight under the promotional poster of Batman v Superman movie. He has no glasses on, just has a t-shirt, and he'd be chilling out there, and no one recognized him. No one. No one. And he has the Superman, and it just all goes to show you that people don't expect other people to be in certain places. And this is the major reason why Clark doesn't even need to wear glasses, but he does. And, Clark, nobody thinks of Clark as Superman because nobody expects Superman to be in daily press. Nobody expects Superman to be quiet and mild-mannered. Superman is powerful. We see him hovering over us, So it's one of those things where it's all about people's expectations. If they see you as a mythical figure larger than life, that's how they see you. Take, for instance, star singers. When we think of star singers, we think of them larger than life. They think of them as like superheroes. Sporting figures. So to see a sporting figure just casually in your country, for example, whatever country you live in, or you're part of town, you're part of the state, a different state, you're just casually walking down the road, something may trigger in your brain and say, hey, that person looks like so and so and so. But we know there are a lot of lookalikes in the world. And just because of the fact that you don't expect them to be in your home state or your home country, you're going to probably pass them by because venue is everything. You think of these people, you associate them with big time events, concerts, a wealthy lifestyle, that's what you associate them with. You don't expect to see, for instance, Henry Cavill in flip-flops in the Caribbean, walking on the side of a road. You just don't expect them to be. You expect him to be in a limo or car or something, So these are the kinds of things, and it's all about people's expectations. Be a person with a view or with a place, and so probably seen in such an enlarged light as a superhero. You don't expect them to be in everyday life. You don't expect them to be in, just walking on the side of the road casually, looking around or whatever. You don't expect them to be. Like you expect them to have, protection and all the big wows because they're larger than life. So it's just one of those things where I thought it's very interesting that no one seemed to recognize Henry Cavill, even though there's this big sign with this movie in front of everyone, And I know in my country, for example, big time movie stars, they come to my country. Nobody makes a fuss because nobody bothers them. And that's because they don't. It's just nobody expects to be here. Okay, that's just one more thing I'm trying to get to here. Maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't. Bear with me, please. Just pause for a minute. Here it is. So, I want you guys to listen to this video. This is about James Gunn's Superman, and this is what everyone came to the conclusion about. Listen to this.
How this will be a difference, promoting it like they're promoting James Gunn's personal social media. He's all over the marketing. If it succeeds, it's all James Gunn. If it fails, it's on James Gunn. I'd rather see him promote the story, characters, what Superman means, how this will be a different Superman. He talked about that. The biggest thing he talked about was how great James Gunn was. It really was.
So that's what all the actors were kind of talking about?
James Gunn
what James brought to this and blah, blah, blah.
He's so great. He's so great. He's the only one who could be an asshole on set. And that was one of the quotes.
Wow.
Yeah, sure you can read all.
Okay, so basically, it's the James Gunn show, right? James Gunn's been pushing himself everywhere in DC. He seems to want to brand himself over the Superman brand. And it's really weird to see him doing that. But obviously he wants everyone to know it's him. So he's unmistakably associating himself with the Superman film, but he's trying to make it about himself more than it is about the film. I guess to stir up support for him in this DC landscape, because nobody's really supporting him like that. He has a few speckle of people who's supporting him. I mean, we talked about Failure Upwards yesterday. This is one movie that I truly believe is going to fail up, and the execs just wanted to make sure and get the film to the finish line. I think it's already a mess. You look at the advertising and it's messy. You look at the fact that they have to reshoot so much. I think the film's going to be a big old mess, and it's the Flash 2.0. So, it's not surprising to hear James Gunn trying to associate himself with trying to get as much publicity as he can. Even if this film tanks, he wants you to remember his name, James Gunn. So I think it's more of an IP thing with James Gunn. Yeah. So that's what I got for Restore the Snyderverse. This is one more thing here. Stanley Ipkiss says the world's finest need to return. We need Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, Ben Affleck's Batman movie, and Man of Steel 2. There's so many sentiments like that. Look again, here we are. Same Stanley Ipkiss. Just because you're a fan of an IP doesn't mean you have to settle for any old mediocre slop. Quite the opposite of that, naturally. You should want the very best quality out of the IP you love. Don't settle for less, otherwise that's all they'll keep producing. Restore the Snyderverse. And I just wanted to say also, actually this was highlighted. I think I highlighted it yesterday. I don't know. I can't remember. But let me see if I see it somewhere here. I just want to reiterate on that. That this is the failing upward thing I talked about. continuously Warner Brothers and DC make the mistake that they continuously want to appeal to Marvel. And I think I actually covered this before, but still, nonetheless, I just wanted to show you guys the tweet. If I can find it. Hold on a second. Just gonna find the tweets somewhere here. I'm gonna find it. Just hold on for a second. Just like how James Gunn's Superman is replacing Henry Cavill, and we, so far, have not gotten an impression that Superman is in any way, shape, or form better than anything that Henry Cavill has acted in, except for Justice League 2017. Similarly, I would say that I don't like the Batman, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like the Batman. I think it's a mediocre, safe movie. And the reason is simple, because I know that the movie that Batfleck was coming with Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke, is going to be a much more interesting movie, just simply by the fact that it's new characters introduced into the Batman pantheon. Talking about Deathstroke here. Never saw Batman interface with Deathstroke in any movie. So that was something new. We had seen Batgirl. We knew Batgirl was going to be somewhere in the movie. So the story in and of itself, where Deathstroke is going after Batman, that's incredibly interesting. I mean, we have seen in Christopher Nolan's Bane, to some degree, destroy Batman. Batman escapes, and he comes back to him, and he confronts Bane. But we hadn't seen anything like this, where literally Deathstroke has a vendetta against Batman, and he's destroying everybody he loves. We haven't seen that. Interesting intrigue behind the Oracle probably being there. Maybe it's not Batgirl, but maybe it's the Oracle. I don't know, man. I just want to see a movie like that. Versus Matt Reeves' movie, which clearly seems to be an inferior movie. A rehash of the characters we've seen before. A more serious take on the Riddler, but we've seen the Riddler before. We've been Riddler was there. That's not intriguing. And plus, we've seen all those Die Hard movies, so the Riddler was, it was weak. I'll give you this. It was a weak story. The workmanship was superior. It was great workmanship, but the story, the action scenes were mediocre, to say the least. It was a safe story. It didn't really go anywhere, I thought, and it was boring. It really was boring. It was a boring ass movie. I watched it back. I wasted time watching that movie. It was a disappointing movie. The advertising was better than the movie. The way how they advertised the movie was better than the actual movie itself. The Riddler sounded like a real clown. Sounded weird. But even so, the story just didn't stand up to what I was looking for. And definitely wasn't going to be a better movie than Ben Affleck's movie, which I still want to see. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into the Free Palestine bit. But before I do that, there's something else I want to talk about. The stock exchange is tumbling still. China is basically owning America, and it was the dumbest move by Donald Trump to impose those tariffs. I don't know what made him think. I don't know why he thinks. I don't know why the American government thinks that China is somehow a threat to them. It's one of the most ironic things I've ever heard. China wants to work with everybody. They're trying to say that China doesn't do free trade deals, but China does. do free trade deals. And I just think that the U.S. is, again, doing some really stupid things. You know, it's isolating itself from the world. Anyway, here is Adam, indigenous Israeli population, God's chosen people in their land. All right, there you go.
I'm from Palo Alto in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Hi, my name is Caleb from San Francisco. I joined the IDF about 2 years ago.
I arrived in Israel 4 months ago from Cape Town, South Africa.
I'm Shakit Oz. I'm a lone soldier from Atlanta, Georgia.
Florida, USA, Tampa Bay.
My name is Eitan. I'm a private in the Nachal Brigade. I'm a lone soldier from Atlanta, Georgia.
I always wanted to be Israeli and couldn't think of any other way to be more Israeli than to join the army.
My name is Hanan Linder. I'm from West Hempstead, Long Island. I decided to join the IDF because growing up in a Zionist home with a Zionist family, I wanted to contribute, be active.
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and something that we take very seriously, it's hospitality. It's bringing people in and making them feel at home.
I'm Haley. I'm 25 years old. I grew up in New Jersey my whole life and moved to Israel just about 3 years ago.
I'm Yael, originally from South Africa. I came to Israel 3 years ago in order to draft into the army.
My name's Jacob. I'm 24 years old, originally from Orange County, California.
My name's Ariel. I'm from Clifton, New Jersey.
My name is Gideon. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Bergen County, New Jersey.
What's up, guys? Isaac here. I'm 25 years old from Naples, Florida, and I'm now serving in the IDF as a lone soldier.
Hi, my name is Eden. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm serving in the 611 Battalion to make sure that it's all clear in our...
Some South Africans. They're the indigenous people of Israel. And that's the kind of bullshit we have to put up with every day. Foreigners come into people's lands, take their lands, and then claim their lands are their lands. Their lands from thousands of years ago. I mean, how much bullshit are you going to give us? You came there 3 years ago, but you're indigenous? Fuck out of here. You're a fucking American. An American that's seizing land that's not yours. It's other fucking people's land. You gotta excuse my F-bombs, but it's just, I am so disgusted with the fucking hypocrisy of these assholes. I'm sorry I cursed. Netanyahu tries to lie about Jesus, but the late Pope Francis corrects him. Now, mind you, Pope Francis is also wrong, but that's besides the point. Listen, please. So the Pope corrects him and says that Jesus spoke Aramaic, which was supposedly the language of the day, started in Babylon and moved around. And, Netanyahu tried to tell him he spoke Hebrew, but that's not what they were speaking. Now, here's another interesting thing. Jesus did not speak Aramaic. He spoke Arabic. Yes, Arab. Yes, that language. That's what he spoke. The language of the day. There were different languages of the day in different times. People say, early Hebrew was really Phoenician or Canaanite. The Hebrews spoke Egyptian. They spoke other languages. But the form of Hebrew you see today, the modern Hebrew that you see today, is really from Aramaic. And Aramaic really started in Babylon, because Babylon was the place where most people spoke Aramaic, and then the whole rest of the world at the time spoke Aramaic. But before that, they spoke Phoenician, or a early Proto-Hebrew known as Canaanite. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't understand that. Just like how, Jews will come to America speaking Yiddish, but also speaking American, you adapt the language of the period of the time, whoever the rulership is. Everybody has to learn that language, okay? That's how we in colonial world. They talk about the three major languages, which is English, French, and Spanish. And the reason that is so is because the colonial powers, the Spanish first, and then the French, and then the English, they colonized the world. That's why they talk about the three major languages, be English, Spanish. But in your individual country, you may speak some other language. Okay. Now, as we all know, Mohsen Madawi was going for his citizenship. He was going in to take an exam, citizen exam, in the United States of America, and he was abducted by ICE. And they have him in a detention place somewhere. He was from Vermont, and here is what he had to say while he is being detained. Senator Peter Welch went to see him from Vermont.
And the inevitability of justice.
I'm here with our friend from the Upper Valley, Mohsen. We've been having a nice talk, but I want you to have a chance to explain to people how you're doing and what you hope to accomplish, and how is it you're staying so positive despite your circumstances?
Thank you for the visit. It really means a lot, and it reassures me of the support that I have from you and from the Vermonters as well, my people, the people of Vermont. I'm staying positive by reassuring myself in the inevitability of justice and in the deep belief of democracy. This is the reason I wanted to become a citizen of this country, because I believe in the principles of this country.
And you told me you were preparing for your citizenship exam that you thought you were going to take when you were detained. One of the questions you were going to answer, just explain that about rights.
One of the most important questions, the most important rights is the Bill of Rights, which includes free speech on the top of these rights. Freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom of having religion or not having religion at all. And I learned also in this basically test that I had to study for, that the freedom of speech and religion and assembly is guaranteed to everyone in the United States, which is part of the foundation of this country.
Well, I want you to also, Secretary Rubio said you're a threat to foreign policy. Can you just tell us what you were hoping for and how you've worked with some of your Jewish brothers and sisters as well as Muslim brothers and sisters?
My activism, so they are, basically he is describing being anti-war as anti-Semitic. How could that be possible when my partners, most of my partners at Columbia's campus and beyond, are Jews and Israelis? My work has been centered on peacemaking. And all what I am doing, I am being a human. My empathy, as I mentioned before, extends beyond the Palestinian people. And my empathy extends to the Jews and to the Israelis. And my hope and my dream is to see this conflict, if one might say, to see an end to the war and end to the killing, to see a peaceful resolution between Palestinians and Israelis. How could this be a threat to anybody, except the war machine that is feeding this?
It would be good for everybody, for us to have peace.
I want to tell everyone that I feel so loved and so supported. And I am here in good hands. I am centered, I am clear, I am grounded, and I don't want you to worry about me. I want you to continue working for the democracy of this country and for humanity. The war must stop.
Thank you so much.
I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Senator Welch, I noticed that senators are going and visiting different people. And it's good to see these senators outreach like that, because I got to be honest with you. We need people checking and balancing. And it's nice to see Senator Peter Welch standing up for his constituent following up on his constituent. This is what senators are supposed to do. This is what they're obligated to do. For example, in New York, what happened? The senator for New York should have gone down and checked out the man who was detained from New York. The senator for Washington, D.C. should have done the same. And so, because these are under your charge, these are your people. And I'm not seeing that happening. I'm not seeing representatives of government going to see how their citizens are doing and following up. I saw a senator go all the way down to El Salvador to check out the individual that was supposed to be held in prison. He was not held in prison. He was walking around free in El Salvador. So, these are very important things to note. Senators have apparently a lot of clout and a lot of say on a lot of things. And that's what you should get your counselor, your senator, your congressman, your governor. These are people in different states who are supposed to be responsible for the citizens within and the people, the population within their states. And they're supposed to do something about it. And so I was really happy to see Senator Peter Welch come out and also give a platform to the Palestinian Mohsen Madawi, who is a peacekeeper. And I thought I would share this with you guys on this stream right now because I think it's a very important thing to share. All right, now let's go to this.
He was somebody that was, I guess you'd have to say, notorious. And I would say release it. And I did release the full Kennedy files. People said, well, maybe not everything. And I said, if anybody has a problem, go to the office. We gave them an office address, and they can look at every single piece of paper we have and other files. And as you know, the January 6th and all of that, we freed the people. They were treated so badly. There's never been, there have been some pretty bad instances, but there's probably never been anything like what happened with the people from January 6th, who were largely, and there's always exceptions, but largely great patriots for this country. And so many people were happy with that. I did that, and I let them out. I gave them their freedom.
Jeffrey Epstein, ¿nos puedes dar un update?
As anti-Semitic.
I would say we put penalties on China for sending us fentanyl. We put penalties on Mexico and Canada, 25% for allowing fentanyl and allowing the borders.
Oh, well, we didn't discuss about Starlink. We've been discussing about defense space, where we will work together also in the Mars missions. So there are big things to do together, but we didn't discuss it.
Prime Minister, that changed your mind potentially about tariffs and what you plan to do going forward?
No.
Is there anything Prime Minister said to you that changed your perspective?
No, tariffs are making us rich. We were losing a lot of money under Biden, trillions of dollars, trillions on trade. And now that whole tide has turned. We're making a lot of money. We're taking in a lot of money. Don't forget, we're taking in 25% on cars, 25% on steel, 25% on aluminum, 10% baseline. We put penalties on China for sending us fentanyl. We put penalties on Mexico and Canada, 25% for allowing fentanyl and allowing the borders to be weak. No, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars while I sit here and talk to you. And we didn't take in anything before, other than the tariffs that I put on previous to Biden, which were the tariffs I put on China, where we took in, up until this point, probably $700 billion. They were Trump tariffs. He tried to weaken them. He did everything he could. He got paid money by China, right? The family got paid money. He did. And so I don't know, maybe that was the reason, or maybe it wasn't. But he tried to weaken them, but he couldn't, because there was so much money that his budgets, couldn't stand not doing it. But I took in the, up till this point, my tariffs on China. Nobody ever took in 10 cents from China. No other president took in 10 cents. I took in.
So as he keeps on talking bullshit, she rolls her eyes and so on. And that's because He's not taking any money from China. You understand. Trump doesn't realize. China pays absolutely nothing. China gets paid regardless. The people who suffer are the importers who import the goods from China, the American citizens, the American companies. So he's talking, not understanding he's picking Americans' pockets, you know, and so is the idiot. I think a lot of people don't realize that, and this is part of Roman military garrison. So, you know, these guys are actually pledging their allegiance to Rome. It's one of the stupidest things ever, which is why the Pope didn't have a problem touching it. Okay, this is a confession from an ex-IOF soldier. The way we fight in Gaza allows us to kill innocent people, and we can always say it was a mistake. There's basically zero repercussions for killing innocent Palestinians.
Gallant and others, yeah, encouraging killing, encouraging destruction. There is basically zero repercussions for killing of innocent Palestinians, not only in this war, but now more than ever. There is also no incentive for a soldier to not shoot, because there will be no price paid.
Does Israel have the right? Does Israel have the right to defend itself? Israel has no right to be there. Israel has no right to exist, because its right to existence is based on denying the right of the Palestinians for self-determination. No one has self-determination if they deny it to others. This is what they are doing. They are genociders, and they should go away from Palestine if they don't want to live in peace with the want to live in peace. Those that don't should go away. There's no place for them in Palestine. What message would you give to a Jew or Israeli that says that Israel is a promised land by God? If somebody came to your home and said 2,000 years ago, a friend of mine promised me this place and now I want it back. I mean, this is nonsense. They are settler colonialists. They took Palestine by force.
And it was a huge worldwide story.
There was a Volkswagen attack in London in 1994, where a car bomb exploded outside the Israeli embassy in the center of
Gaza allows us to kill it.
Okay, this one is it's cutting edge. It's just, it's savage. You ready for this? Native Americans slam white people, saying they can't complain about illegal immigrants when their ancestors were illegal. Thoughts? Yo, that's savage. Yo, come back here. That's serious stuff. Yo, that's serious stuff they just said, because to be honest with you, nobody gave them permission to come onto the New World. They just took over things like gangsters, like mobsters, and started establishing laws that they thought was, and they killed off the original peoples. As you can see, the original peoples are very beautiful peoples. And so you remember, all of Mexico, all of North America, all of Greenland, this was Native American territory, right? Okay. Let's not forget who was on the land first. So these Europeans, they came to Central America. They came to what is now known as the United States of America. They came to Canada. They came to Greenland, and they started to genocide the people. It took many years, but they finally wiped out a lot of the original inhabitants of that area. What we call Latin America has a bond with North America and has a bond with Greenland and all these places, Canada, because it's the same peoples, different tribes, but the same peoples that occupied all of that terrain from Greenland all the way down to Peru, you know, were Native American peoples. So there are still Native American peoples, like I said, in the interior, in Brazil, you know, and so, you know, in Peru, Chile, you know, there's still Native American people in Argentina. They were displaced, and these European settlers took the, and they were illegal immigrants. It's crazy, man. It's crazy how these motherfuckers have the audacity to say what they say. Well, this is going to be interesting. You ready? Here I go.
Real, no, this didn't happen in Nazi Germany. Thing is, look, if Green Day, if Kneecap, which is a band I've never even heard of, if they want to be for the Palestinian people, then they shouldn't be anti-Israel. They should be anti-Hamas. And to see on stage a large billboard that says F Israel. Unreal. It's unreal. No, this didn't happen in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. This was in 2025 in America. Beyond staggering. Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you was, how do we...
So the first thing is to hear this asshole say, whoa, in America they're saying, fuck Israel. Oh, we never saw that in Nazi Germany. Well, stupid asshole, that's because Israel's bombing the fuck out of Palestine, killing a lot of people. So as they say, fuck the Palestinians, we say, fuck Israel. Now you butthurt about that? Huh? They're allowed to just genocide anybody, but you know what? You know what? We didn't even see that in Nazi Germany. We didn't even see these people, you know, bomb the fuck out of another nation like that. And enjoy it, like they're rejoicing and celebrating the bombing and going and watching the fireworks. You fucking asshole.
Combat this with young people. I feel like we can...
Palestinian Islamic Jihad leaders were arrested by Julani's group. PIJ used to be based in Damascus under Assad's rule. Now, Julani's group is removing their presence, which seems like a favor to Israel and the U.S., but hurts Palestinians. Once a terrorist, always a terrorist. Yeah. Julani is a fucking terrorist. And guess who he works for? It makes sense, doesn't it? The two terrorist states, the U.S. and Israel. Yeah, people are hating the U.S. more and more every day. We are hating Israel more and more every day. Why? Because, you see, the leadership of both countries endorses and certifies terrorists, then wants to call terrorists the people who are defending themselves and defending their countries. So as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Donald Trump can go fuck themselves. I'm sorry. When you are supporting this criminal who beheads people, who shoots his own people, who shoots his own Muslim people, supposedly in the name of Islam, fuck all of you assholes. Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, shout out to him, calls out saying once China has completely decoupled from the U.S., who is he going to blame for the internal problems? Just a bunch of clowns, man. Well, Mr. Netanyahu again continuously speaks about the siege on Gaza and that he is cutting off all food and stuff to Gazans because Hamas will get the food, which is bullshit. That's called collective punishment, and therefore he's already in breach of criminal law. Yet again, he just keeps on breaching. So, yeah, his end is going to be, the devil's going to get his ass, and he's going to be roasting in hell. And I really couldn't give a damn. To be honest with you, that man is a devil. Finally, Noctis Draven. This is my last one. Palestine in 1945.
الغربة الحزينة سلم لي عريحة وسلم عالديرة طير الطاي أرض الكريمة الخدوش اللي فينا سلم لي عريحة وسلم عالديرة طير الطاي.
So yeah, Palestine existed. Okay? All right. Shout out to Thomas Massey and comic Dave Smith. You know, everybody's doing their part in their own way. And Mr. Thomas Massey should be president of the United States. I told you, I like that guy. African Hub. We will mine our gold ourselves, not for France, but our people. Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. I love this guy. This guy is just doing stuff. President of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, is a threat to his people. That's what the U.S. general said in front of a Senate hearing. He can go fuck himself. Trump is losing so badly, I'll never thought I'd say it. God help me for saying it, but we're better off under Biden. This is like the damn Titanic. The stocks are just falling. Donald Trump posting tariffs for 90 days. The stock market continues to sink. Another 1.4 trillion wiped out yesterday. Democratic Senator Peter Welch, Palestinian student Mohsen Modi must be released and granted U.S. citizenship. Very good, very good. Mr. David Icke says, what would those who champion freedom attach themselves to a Roman church with a sickening history of killing people in mass for the crime of having a different opinion? Take your time. The same Roman church so violently imposed its doctrine on the native peoples of the world and infused fear and guilt into the psyche of millions worldwide to mess with their heads for a lifetime, including children. Mind you, it changed original Christianity into Masonic order as well. The RC Church is structured as a pyramid. The base is the peasant, non-clergy, and the top is the divine, Pope, incarnation of God. With respect to the Bible, which shares no such thing, this is heresy. So I just thought I'd point that out. There's another thing I keep hearing from these elitists. I heard it from Vice President Vance, J.D. Vance. He was calling the Chinese peasants, and it just dawned on me what a peasant is, and I'm going to show you what a peasant is as we're there. A peasant is a pre-industrial agricultural laborer or a farmer with limited land ownership, especially one living in the Middle Ages under feudalism and paying rent, tax, fees, or service to a landlord. In Europe, three classes of peasants existed: non-free slaves, semi-free serfs, and free tenants. Peasants might hold title to land outright, fee, simple, or any of several forms of land tenure, among them socage, kit rent, leasehold, and copyhold. Now, he called the Chinese peasants, what he was basically saying, peasants are basically farmers. They're like the lowest of the totem pole of the feudal system. So you had servants, you had slaves, then you had peasants, then you had lords, and then you had the king, queen, royalty, right? You had dukes and so on. So the peasant was the lowest level. And by referring to the Chinese as peasants. J.D. Vance is saying that they are royalty. They're like lords, and the Chinese are peasants. And the reason they say that is because the Chinese were brought in to help build the railroads in the United States of America, and the Chinese were farmers. Now, why is it so important to me? And I want to mention it. It overlaps with what Zack Snyder has been doing for many years. In fact, it shows me also the scorn that J.D. Vance has for the peasants in America. The American farmers are peasants. Farmers are peasants. Okay, now I'm going to show you some stuff real quick. Zack Snyder, was using. If you look at Man of Steel, Superman comes from a peasant background. He comes from farmers. It's the Kent farm, right? He's a peasant. If you look at Rebel Moon, the people on Rebel Moon learn to fight, but they're peasants. They are farmers, right? If you look at, let's see, what else? What does Zack Snyder have that shows peasants or farmers? You look at Twilight of the Gods. Leaf is a peasant who turns into a warrior who is a king, but he's a king of peasants, right? He's a king of peasants. So all I'm saying is that you see that peasant or that farmer theme throughout Zack Snyder's stuff, and he likes to go with the farmer guy because the farmer guy is always, more down to earth, more in touch with the land, more in touch with the ground, the relationship between the people and the land. And so, again, I would assume that they would use peasants or derogatory terms for the people of Palestine or Gaza because, again, they're mostly farmers. The people of Gaza were farmers and businessmen that did trade. That's what Palestine was. It was a hub of trade and commerce in the Middle East, pretty much like most Middle Eastern countries today, like Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, mostly a place of trade. And why this is so important is because the attack on farmers, the attack on the common folk, the attack on supposedly the lowest part of the pyramid has been going on for like eternity. You look at the wars in Congo, who are the people suffering? It's the farmers, it's the peasants. You look at Somalia, you look at Congo, you look at Sudan, it's the same thing. You look at Libya, who are the people suffering? It's people like you and me. We are peasants, right? You can call us economically efficient peasants, but we're still peasants, right, in their eyes. So it's the same thing with China. China's a nation of peasants that came to become strong, empowered themselves. They like to say that, communism and, the government, you can't say anything ill about the government. You know why you can't say anything ill about the government in China? Because it's collectively the people of China that back up their government. Okay? It is what it is. And the government has served the people of China because guess what? Because the people of China back the government. Okay? So you could say whatever you want about China and how they conduct their affairs. At the end of the day, there's no one person that leads China. The Chinese will stand up for each other, which is very good. Now, when we look at, what's happening in Burkina Faso, and they're talking about, the leader of Burkina Faso, he should call elections and he's holding the people hostage. He's not holding anybody hostage in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is becoming more and more taking initiatives which are benefiting the people of Burkina Faso. So you can say whatever you want about the leader. The thing is, these measures are being put in place and the people of Burkina Faso are happy about it. So there are different ways for people to govern. Democracy is one of them. And you cannot, if you do not know the people and their culture, you cannot say that this method, they need to be a democracy. Otherwise, they're tyrants and dictators. That's bullshit. There are different ways to conduct and govern a country. And if people found an effective way to conduct and govern their countries, Why don't you look at your own country and make sure you can have it managed well so that the people are satisfied with what you're doing and your leadership, which is far from the truth right now in America. So I'm just saying. Okay, this is where General Azad, who was a soldier, was mocking Henry Cavill Superman. All right, so I'm going to stop right Oh, yes. I'm going to stop right here.
But some people don't like this voice. Everybody say my voice is so young, like a child.
That's your real voice?
Yes, it's my real voice. Everybody thinks you like a child.
That's crazy.
But some people don't like this voice. Always.
Well, nah, don't listen to them.
Some people don't like this.
Nah, I like it. It's a nice voice. It's a nice voice. Nah, Chad, she got a good voice. See, look, in this world, honey, you gotta understand that. In this world, people gonna laugh at you, talk about you, be hateful towards you. That's part of life. So you just have to stay strong and be you at the end of the day. People gonna hate you all the time. It don't matter if you're the best in the world, the most perfect person in the world. People gonna hate you. You know what I'm saying? You have a nice voice.
I believe you.
Don't worry.
Hey, my voice is so young, like a child.
That's your real voice?
Yes, it's my real voice. Everybody thinks you like a child.
That's crazy.
But some people don't like this voice. Always.
Well, nah, don't listen to them.
Some people don't like this.
Nah, I like it. It's a nice voice. It's a nice voice. Nah, Chad, she got a good voice. See, look, in this world, honey, you gotta understand that. In this world, people gonna laugh at you, talk about you, be hateful towards you. That's part of life. So you just have to stay strong and be you at the end of the day. People gonna hate you all the time. It don't matter if you're the best in the world, the most perfect person in the world. People gonna hate you. You know what I'm saying? You have a nice voice.
I believe you.
Don't worry.
After he met with our eyeliner-wearing demonic Vice President J.D. Vance, he's been one of the only world leaders, religious leaders, that has not only called for an end to the genocide in Gaza, but has condemned the Israeli regime for the genocide. And then he dies today. So you're telling me that Pope Francis died like a day after he met with our eyeliner-wearing demonic Vice President J.D. Vance? He's been one of the only world leaders, religious leaders, that has not only called for an end to the genocide in Gaza, but has condemned the Israeli regime for the genocide. And then he dies today. So you're telling me that Pope Francis died like a day after he met with our eyeliner-wearing demonic Vice President J.D. Vance? He's been one of the only world leaders, religious leaders, that has not only called for an end to the genocide in Gaza, but has condemned the Israeli regime for the genocide. And then he dies today. So you're telling me that Pope Francis died like a day after he met with our eyeliner-wearing demonic Vice President J.D. Vance? He's been one of the only world leaders, religious leaders, that has not only called for an end to the genocide in Gaza, but has condemned the Israeli regime for the genocide. And then he dies today. So you're telling me that Pope...
All right, looks like it's time for us to go save the people of Burkina Faso. This guy got on U.S. Senate hearing and said that the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, has become a threat to his own people. You already know what that means, what that sounds like. That means it's time for us to go liberate the people of Burkina Faso. And of course, they're going to use a black man, a blackface. There's always a house nigga. Every time they're going to use, every time they want to use violence on black people, they use a black man from the West to come bring it on Africans. When they want to use sweet talk, it's always a black woman. Like when you see this guy's used violence for Burkina Faso when they wanted to do the what was it called it? What was it in Kenya? The bill that was going to the bill they were trying to introduce where if you owe too much taxes, the IMF could take your land. It was black American congresswomen they used to send them to Kenya. Like America has realized they have black people in power who they can use now to destroy Africa. But yes, this house nigger, Michael Langley, is now the guy who's going to be the face of America going into Burkina Faso. Look it up. He got on the Senate hearing and said, but Ibrahim Traore is a threat to his own people.
Yep. I couldn't say it better myself.
It is here, on this world.
Shout out to my boy, Lord Koj. Some huge revolutions for freedom have started with students protesting on campus. Something factions in power profiting off of slaughtering people want you to forget and not know. Vietnam, 1967. South Africa, 1985. Palestine, 2024. We will win. Let me tell you something also. All they're doing is fueling the fire. Every time they try to ban or stop or censor, all they're doing is fueling the fire. They just make people more resolved to see this thing to the end. And the problem with these clowns, and I see it with WB, I see it with DC, I see it with Hollywood, how they're trying to push their own agendas, all this LGBTQYZHIJK LMNOP. Let's not forget that. Also, we got the social justice warriors. They're trying to push something. And that's the thing I don't like. Why are you trying to ram stuff down people's throats? I don't understand that. Right? All the affirmative black action and you got to have everybody of different colors inside this movie. What the fuck, man? Just tell a good story. And that's where I think a lot of people are like, you have a fucking agenda clearly and you're trying to ram it down our throats and we don't understand why. We just want something that talks about our humanity and is organic. And I think that, the more they do that is the more the pushback comes back. People are like, fuck you, fuck your stuff. That's why Star Wars right now is out of it. People go back and watch the old original movies. They're not going to watch these new, these social justice warrior bullshit that they're putting out there. And again, you got to understand, it's the agenda that's disgusting. These people are on some kind of agenda and they're trying to brainwash people into, and I think people are stupid, and they're trying to brainwash people into following this agenda. And when we see agendas, that's when, not to say that some of the things that are being pushed aren't good things, but it's when you have an agenda behind it. We know that agenda cannot be anything good. And why they have to try and force it on you means that it's something that they know the public's not going to accept just like that. So the same way how they're trying to shut up and censor people, and the pushback's just so fucking epic. And in every single sphere, from the legal sphere to the literal sabotage of things, to people striking from their jobs, to people stopping other people from going to their jobs and so on. We haven't even ratcheted this thing up 50% of what it could be. And they're already starting to buckle and it's already starting to fold. And they're no match for us, I'm telling you guys. They're no match for us. We just have to keep on doing what we're doing and intensify it. Using the law is the most important thing. You saw me say with Free Palestine, the law is the law. The one thing we have tremendously on our side, no matter how they try to change laws, is we have law on our side. And so when you try to make another law that contravenes or contradicts the law, and the people don't accept it, they just simply civilly disobey it. And that's what will continue to happen You can't stop people from having freedom of speech. You cannot stop people from speaking. And no matter if you kill them, you think you decapitate the head of them, it's just going to continue. This is a fucking movement. This is not dependent on any one person. Unlike JFK back in the days where you had a figurehead, that's not the case. People will just fall in line. Who needs to take up the leading mantle will take it up, and it will keep going. Movements are not destructible. You can't destroy a movement just like that. You know, and because you think you can take out the leadership, you have to get the people hopeless. But when people get fired up and the thing they're fighting for is worth their lives, they're willing to give their lives for what they're fighting for, you're in some fucked up shit because they're not going to go backwards. And you're not just going to wipe them out like you did the American Indians, or you're trying to do the Palestinians, or you're trying to do to people who are pointing out the crimes that Israel is committing against Palestine for decades. You're not going to shut them up. You can't make them unsee what they saw. They didn't have to be convinced by anyone because they saw it with their own eyes. And the people who are still playing it cautious and don't want to do anything, I hate to say it like this, but fuck them. Fuck them. Okay? It's the people who take action who are going to make the change. And guaranteed, I know more and more people are going to take action, as we can clearly see. There are billions and billions of people taking action. We've gotten almost to 5 billion people taking action now. So it really doesn't matter what these people try to pull or what they try to do. They're not the majority of people. And the majority, it's said, the most recent study is that 90% of the protests worldwide are for free Palestine. And I think it's either 5 or 10% are pro-Israel. That's how powerful it has become. You know, I think along the time of, I believe, when this thing started, October 7th, and a little bit after, the pro-Palestinian voices and protests were about, I think it was about 50-something%, and Israel was about 40-something%. Well, now almost all the protests that are happening, the massive protests, are pro-Palestinian. We have about 5%, I think 5 or 10% that are pro-Israel. And that's just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is that anti-Semitism can go wild because there are certain factions of people in here misinforming the people about Jewish people. And that's the one thing I'm worried about. But other than that, what's happening is happening. And most people who are pro-Palestinian know what anti-Semitism is, even in the common term, and also in the extended term, what anti-Semitism is. So, you know, you're not fooling anybody out here, okay? And you think by abducting people, you will have to make account for the abductions that you've done, and you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, because the law is the law, and you have to obey the law. Well, anyway, that's what I've got for you guys. Shout out to Lord Koj. Sorry about the cursing.
If Iran is expected to abandon its nuclear program, is Israel ready to do the same? Because assuming Iran disarms, Israel would remain the only country in the region with potential nuclear capabilities. Thank you.
Okay, so as the foreign minister Gideon Sar said, is the most important thing is the objective. Iran cannot have nuclear weapon, and this is what's in front of us. We understand it's not just a threat to Israel, but to the entire world.
What about Israel?
Israel is not posing a threat to anyone. We don't have any ambitions in any other country. Iran has ambition in the entire Middle East. They're posing a threat and are controlling and have destroyed Lebanon, controlling Lebanon through Hezbollah, destroying its politics, destroying its social fabric, destroying its economy. They do the same thing in Syria. They do the same thing in Iraq. They do the same thing in Yemen, destroying the population, destroying the country, bringing them on the verge of starvation. And this is what they're attempting to do in Jordan. That's what they're doing in Africa. That's what's happening. Who's arming Al-Shabaab? Who's training Al-Shabaab in Somalia right now? What's happening in Central and South America? Hezbollah is the biggest controller of illegal drug and weapon trafficking routes in Central and South America.
That's a lie.
Cartel is not just about illegal drugs.
Man, she is fucking lying. Right now, Israel's just blasting the living shit out of everybody in the Middle East. We all know this. They're fighting the war in Lebanon. They're fighting the war in Syria. They've taken the Golden Heights. What the fuck is she talking about? They have a siege on Palestine. They bombed motherfucking Yemen. I don't want to hear that bullshit. She's lying out her teeth, and it's some bullshit that she's talking. What the fuck is she talking? I mean, seriously, ladies and gentlemen, do we need to hear all these fucking lies? Israel and Mossad being controlling the drug trade and human trafficking. What the fuck is she talking about? What do you think? What do you think? This whole issue with what the fuck is his name right now? Not Harvey Weinstein, the other guy, Mr. Epstein. What do you think this Epstein thing is about? Get the fuck out of here.
My name is IMA, and this is my cat Aiko. I just thought I'd play a little snippet of a song that I'm working on for you, and you could let me know how you feel about it, if you're vibing it. If not, I would love that. Ready? Do you mind? I hate when I can smell you on my clothes, and I hate it when I see your posts on my phone. Fuck it, I hate crying too, 'cause everything reminds me of you, and that I love it when, yeah. 1 + 1 diamond us two.
There was a woman, the building collapsed. She says as she's walking down the building, she can hear the little kids, not 16-year-old members of Hamas. You're talking 4- and 5-year-olds screaming for their mothers while they're buried underneath the rubble, screaming for help from their mommy. And you know what, Pierce? No help is coming because there's no bulldozers in Gaza. Nobody's coming to get those kids out. This is the reality of war. And this is what this is the main point that I was trying to make to Douglas Murray, which he kept running away from. If you're going to say that our goal here is to degrade Hamas, Murray conceded you probably can't eliminate them, but he feels like you can degrade them. If you're going to degrade Hamas, and the cost of it is those little children dying under rubble, screaming for their mother as their bones are crushed and no one's coming to help them, then fine. But at least say that you find that price acceptable. And then we could have a real conversation about why people are going to view you as a monster and why the other side will never stop fighting and will always be against you. Because I could tell you for sure, if that was my kids, and I know, Pierce, if those were your kids as well, you wouldn't want to hear anything about how, well, we've codified in international law that this is the norm of the way wars are allowed to be fought versus not allowed to be fought.
When Ethiopian people were immigrated to Israel, Ethiopian Jews, women then report 2013, that's not like 50 years ago. They reported that they were given against their consent and without their knowledge contraceptive shots so they wouldn't reproduce because they are the wrong color. Israel is a racist apartheid country that is projecting this shiny example of secularism and democracy for the people so people can accept whatever they do because they look at Palestinians as lesser people. This is the whole point. And I would like to quote Winston Churchill. He had a quote that say, I don't believe that we have made a great wrong to the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia because they were replaced by a higher race, a stronger race, a more word-wisely race. This is why Queen Rania is criticizing the West. This is why we here say, like, where are your values? Because this is the crux of the problem. It's not Hamas. It's not Palestine. It is people looking at us as lesser human beings.
I received this comment on Instagram, so I asked Chad about it.
This comment is full of historical distortions. The UN's partition plan wasn't a fair decision. It was imposed without Palestinian consent, giving over half the land to a minority population. Palestinians didn't fail to create a state. They were ethnically cleansed in the Nakba, with Zionist militias massacring civilians and destroying villages before any Arab army intervened. The claim that Arab forces had already launched attacks and mass expulsions. Israel expanded its borders through force, not because Palestinians gave land away. Blaming Egypt and Jordan is just a distraction from Zionist settler colonialism. And calling Palestinians disorganized and sectarian is just racist. They weren't given a chance. Palestinian leaders were assassinated, exiled, or undermined by Zionist forces and colonial powers. This is just propaganda reframing ethnic cleansing as Palestinian failure. The reality is simple. Zionist forces took land by force, expelled the native population, and then blamed them for resisting it.
They are trying to make it unbearable. Jerusalem Christians face Easter under Israeli crackdown. For generations, tens of thousands of Palestinian Christians living in the Israeli-occupied West Bank villages and cities of Ramallah, Bethlehem, and Taiba would travel to Jerusalem's Old City at Easter to take part in the rituals. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is actually in East Jerusalem, which Israel captured in 1967. Yet this weekend, Palestinian Christians were noticeably absent. Israel's occupation, many are very afraid, and many will not risk attending the Easter processions anymore. I will go to the celebrations on Holy Saturday because my family has been part of this tradition for thousands of years, but I'm not going to bring my kids. It's too dangerous now with the police violence. But religious intolerance and anti-Christian sentiment has been made mainstream by Israeli political leadership. The ultra-hardline National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir described Israelis spitting on Christians as a, quote, old Jewish tradition. That's absolutely crazy. There has also been growing incidences of settler groups attempting to seize Christian land in Jerusalem. We'll see how the rest of the day unfolds this Easter. Make sure to shoot me a follow if you want to stay up to date on world news and geopolitics.
To the ground, losing them tens of billions of dollars, despite having to change CEOs to try to rescue their company, despite certain Starbucks markets reporting losses, and despite the fact that Starbucks has a history of painting themselves as a company who cares about human rights and injustices, and yet refuses to say a single word in support of the suffering of Palestinians for over a year. They refuse to even acknowledge that Palestinians exist, and that's why I'm never buying Starbucks again. I'm never going there, and you shouldn't either. What kind of company can paint themselves, sell themselves as progressive, who stands against injustice, but when it comes time to criticize Israel, to stand up for a people suffering a genocide, they're silent. In fact, they attack their workers' union from standing in solidarity with Palestine. And they've had so long since last October to make a simple remedy, to make a statement, say, we stand with the Palestinians. We're sorry, we don't support Israel. But they don't even have a scrap of honor left to do that. Could you believe that a company who made their employees wear Black Lives Matter shirts would be complicit in a genocide? That behavior is despicable, and it shows that Starbucks doesn't actually care about injustices or human rights or being a progressive company. All they care about is profiting off of selective movements they think will benefit them. That's why I'm inviting you to join in boycotting Starbucks. Don't ever go there again. Don't ever purchase anything from there ever again, even the gift cards. They are too expensive, they're complicit in genocide, and you don't want to be supporting such a scummy company. Take your money elsewhere to local coffee shops with better prices, better coffee, and probably better customer shopping there. Please help spread this message out there. Repost this video and copy the link a bunch. That helps out the algorithm a lot. And if you wanted to find a way to help Palestinians out, there are plenty of links in my bio that will help you do exactly that. Thank you, and free Palestine.
Why has the media covered this up? On Tuesday, the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar met with the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy in London. Yet you would only know about this visit to the UK by the Israeli Foreign Minister if you read Middle East Eye, which is where you often find stories much of the rest of the media ignore. Offering the red carpet to the Foreign Secretary of a state whose leaders have arrest warrants against them for war crimes just after they humiliate Britain, pathetic doesn't even cover it. There's no greater sin for a politician than facilitating genocide. And we must not rest until the likes of David Lammy end up in the dock charged with the role that they have played in the mass extermination of the Palestinian people. It sounds utopian. It sounds unthinkable. We think to ourselves, these people will just get away with anything and everything. I don't accept that. I don't accept it at all. I'd note that winds can change very quickly indeed. This crime is too grotesque, too outrageous, too shameless, too diabolical, and too confessed to. And its normalization will spell catastrophe, not just for the Palestinian people, but humanity as a whole. Normalizing depravity will only ensure that we sink into the abyss. Now, some politicians have commendably spoken out, despite the blackout. Zara Sultana, an MP who was suspended by Labour because, she did something really wicked, really terrible. Not facilitate genocide, nothing like that. No, she voted against the Tory benefit cuts, which drive hundreds of thousands of British children into poverty. Anyway, she rightly said, Gideon Saar and all Israeli officials complicit in the genocide of Palestinians, you are not welcome in the UK. Let's see how history judges the likes of Zara Sultana compared to the likes of David Lammy, shall we?
Was not okay. I started learning about the history of the occupation, the political ideology of Zionism, Israeli settlers of the West Bank. I was watching videos coming out of Gaza and crying with friends. I started learning about how colonization, capitalism, and white supremacy need each other to exist and how they were at the root of the Nakba 76 years ago that never ended for the people of Palestine. I was taking it all in, and I was silent. I was scared. I was thinking about myself. I didn't want to be labeled anti-Semitic. I didn't want to get canceled and lose my career. I didn't want to lose fans. I didn't want to offend anyone. But at a certain point, I couldn't believe those voices anymore. My heart had just enough cracks in it that the light of Palestinian resistance, struggle, and unwavering faith cracked it open. I was expecting what happens when the internal pain from being silent outweighs the risk of speaking up in moments of injustice. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you learn the real history, you can't unlearn it. Once you get past the media and the White House focusing solely on October 7th, once you begin to look in displacement, that's when the truth opens up. And once you look under the hood and realize our government officials are bought and paid for by the Israel lobby, you can't look at our so-called democracy the same way. Once you understand that our tax dollars are funding a genocide that we are watching in real time in the palm of our hands, I believe it is our moral obligation to adamantly protest the atrocities we are witnessing and funding, or we are complicit.
Guys, just a quick message to wish everyone the best of luck tomorrow who are partaking in the global day of civil disobedience for the people of Gaza and for the people all over the Levant, all the people who are being mass murdered. I can see the amount of emails coming in. I don't know how many things I've been tagged in. I can see the Trojan work gone into it. And I just want to say, well done. Fair play. We're not inventing anything. We're just coming in on the back of all the incredible work that's already been done. But it's just beautiful to see this solidarity in action with people, ordinary people rising up all over the world saying, we're done. We are done being nice about your attempts to normalise the extermination of a people. We're absolutely done. And tomorrow you're going to have people that probably will ridicule you like you're just off on a jolly as if you've got nothing else to be doing. I was just speaking to a mother there who's looking for somebody to babysit her kids so she can travel halfway across the country to get to an action. Do you think that we're doing this stuff for the crack? We're doing this stuff because the powers that be won't do their job. We don't want to be doing this stuff. We have to. We have no other option. And people will try to criminalize you. They'll say that you're breaking the law. Remember, we're not out tomorrow with international law. So people like us have changed the world before. Keep believing. This is just the start. This is just the very, very start.
Hey, my name's IMA, and this is my cat Aiko. I just thought
So I just want to say this. I'm proud of you guys for continuing to resist. Everybody's beginning to know what the truth is, but you all need to speak up on it. You cannot stay silent. I'm doing my part. You guys do your part. Remember, they are not more powerful than we are collectively. When we work together, none of them are a match for us. I'll see you guys later. Peace.